Hi, it's me, Chad, and I am doing the video where I'm putting the RAM into the motherboard that I'm going to be putting into the computer. I have to do a few videos at a time and then upload them or change them to transfer them to my laptop and then convert them, and then I will upload them to YouTube and or Facebook. I want to apologize if anybody can't hear me. I try to speak as clearly as possible, but so with the RAM, this board is actually easy to put RAM in. The other board, the RAM, did not like to go into the slots easily. It was extremely hard. I had to put more force than normal. So, that's the RAM. Now, the CPU, which is this, again. Now, that writing on there is just to tell the inventory and me that it's a tested 1045T AMD Phenom X6. And the yellowish white piece is a socket like this. This is just an AM3 plus socket. They took it out of a dead motherboard and then tested the CPU, which turned out to be good. So, I'm going to turn this board because I'm going to be doing it the way I'd be doing it in the computer. And my only issue is going to be the heatsink. It may not fit right. So before I apply thermal paste, what I'm going to do is I will apply the I will put the heatsink in and see if it's going to move. Now again, there's an arrow which is right there. It's the same on every socket for the AM3, and that's easy. Then you just put the lever back down and it locks. So now I have to figure out if this is gonna work or not, and it's not. I have to figure out if this is going to go on and work or not, and it doesn't look like it's going to. Oh, I have to make sure it's in right. So, I have it backwards because I won't be able to connect the CPU fan, because the CPU fan connector is down below, right there. Now, what I'm doing is I'm checking to make sure that it's going to not move when it's locked. And it's not. And there's just enough space because of this. These hold it up. So what that's going to do is get better airflow. Now, I don't think putting a tempered plate in the middle will work, but I could. It's a RSX heatsink die plate from a PlayStation 3 Fat that was backwards compatible. And if you can tell, I didn't get all the thermal grease off because it transferred. Because you usually, yep, I didn't get all the grease off. Usually, to get all the thermal paste off, you use isopropyl alcohol. So, I have to put you down next to the heatsink for a second. If I can do this. I'm getting isopropyl alcohol. And you can use a towel if you have like a shop towel or something. And that's what I'm going to do. And when you apply thermal paste, you always need to make sure that the old paste is gone. Because if not, it may spread too far. Like this one, it spread into, at one point it spread into the fins. That's not good if it spreads into the fins. Now, when I plug this in and go to boot Windows, I'm only going to boot from one drive. And it's going to be my primary Windows drive. I will just have everything else in the computer plugged in, like in the SATA ports. But I will not have power drawn to them or provided to them. So they won't be able to turn on and be found. Now, usually the best thermal paste is Arctic Silver. But I have some white paste, which I may have to open up a container. I'm not sure. Nope. I didn't use this paste very much. And you don't need much paste when you do this. Because it's just like a line. Now bigger chips like a Ryzen Threadripper or an Intel Xeon or even an i9 Intel, you want to put more than one set. Hold on, I need to get the thermal paste ready. Sorry. And this one does not want to come off. Now, you could put thermal paste onto the heatsink, but the problem with that is, if you don't get the heatsink lined up, it'll go into the die. I mean, the same problem. It'll go over here and onto the board. Same problem if you do it on the chip, but it's easier to do it on the chip than the heatsink because the heatsink has got the fins and things which will absorb anything that moves. So you typically put a line through the center. Now you can tell that this is gray, so it's a form of Arctic gray. And the paste that was on this chip was white, so I took a chance with the paste that was on the chip when I bought it. And I should have probably put new thermal on. And thermal paste helps keep your ambient temperatures down when it's running. And helps to make sure that your temps run well and don't overheat, because most chips, unless you're going to water cool them, and even water cooling can be a problem. But if you're going to overclock, water cooling is how you do it. So, and I'm not overclocking, so I do not need to water cool anything. I prefer not to use water cooling because there is one slight hazard with water cooling, and that is if you get a leak, you ruin your CPU, you can ruin your motherboard, you can ruin everything that's in the unit. They don't usually leak, but you could get a leaky fitting, and if you do that, then you'll notice immediately, but then also you maybe replacing potentially $500 worth of electronics, depending on your rig and how much it's damaged and how much you spend on a cooler and everything. Now, everything else has to be done inside the computer. So that's the next step. And I have the I/O shield in, but there's pins on it. I'm not sure if I can put the board in properly without two hands. So I'm going to move the motherboard, put the thermal paste back up there. This pin here, this is the expansion base slot holder for the slots, since there's no screws. It's a screwless, it's a single screw. So it holds the slots in place. Most cases, you gotta screw them in, especially older ones. Now this case, I think it's 2009, 2010 model. Dial cases are typically a better handle switch and things like that for like hard drives and things. And that's a 2 terabyte FireCuda compute. It's optimized for gaming, and I can actually tell you that it does work. The only problem with optimized solid state hybrid drives optimized for gaming is you can't you cannot defrag the solid state NAND flash easily. You can do it, but you can't do it easily. So, and don't tell me this board is not gonna fit. So you gotta be really easy, and it does fit. I have to get the cable out of the way from the I/O shield, from the Wi-Fi card. Now, putting this into the I/O shield is going to be a problem because the way it fits. I probably should have put the I/O shield on the board and then put it in, but I'm trying very easily to do this without a problem, because if I get a problem with the I/O shield, then I have a problem with mounting the motherboard, and I have a problem right now with one of the board settings. These don't want to go in. I may have to take them out, which I think I'm supposed to. They go, if you can see them, these go up under in between the video components. And this cable is driving me nuts because it's starting to interfere. So, and I do not think that I did very badly because it's lined up. Now, as you can tell, ATX motherboards don't come with IOs or standoffs. And apparently the reason being, and this board is smaller than the other one apparently. I'm going to have to get a screw in, I'm going to have to hold it. So, I may have, no, I can do it. I can hold it with the fan. So, I have to put a screw in, hand tight, to the standoff. This case has standoffs. So, I'm putting them in hand thread so that I don't lose position. You don't want to cross thread them. And the other board is called a UATX. Now they don't classify UATX anymore. UATX and MATX, which is micro, are the same. And I need my screwdriver because it's magnetic. So to put the rest of the screws in, I need my screwdriver magnetic so I can face it into the threads. And I have to reuse the hardware, the screw hardware, because the motherboard didn't come with screws because it's an MATX. So, because I was hoping that I could use Phillips head screws or something. And speaking of that, I can put the hard drive back in, but there's going to be a problem because this hard drive is funky to line back up with the screw holes. So, and, it lined right back up. Which is, honestly, I don't know why it lined back up, because I had so much trouble when I originally mounted this hard drive. And typically, the slot that this is mounted in is actually if there's another front panel than the panel that's here, there would be a floppy drive right here. But there isn't. That's why there's a hard drive there. So, now honestly, I should plug the SATA cables in and this to make sure I have enough length, which I do. And the reason I'm doing these now is because the power supply would be in the way. Now, for some reason, these cables are messed up now because that's not lining up. Must be the other board was the other board must have been reversed as far as the components. Now, keep these up here. I probably should have done this after I put the video card in, but I'm going to remove this. Now, putting these in, I have to make sure they follow these, and these are kind of bent. So, and these are a pain in the ass to put in and take out. So, because of that, I'm going to take that top one out and put this one back in, because this is the one that's designed for this case. And again, these just stay like that. So now, what I'm going to put in first is going to be the Wi-Fi card, so I can hook up. Well, actually, the graphics card should go in first, because I may have to run wiring over the top of this for the Bluetooth. So, oh, gotta make sure the lever's down. There's a release lock lever. Now, this card, the particular, pin thing is, one of them is bent, and I have done the best I can. If I don't know if you can see it, one is bent right in here, so the card doesn't sit 100% proper. Now, I use HDMI, but this card, being a 1050 Ti, if you don't know, it's got DVI and DisplayPort 1.0. This card I may have to do with the case up, standing. And that's actually difficult one-handed. So, I'm going to put the Wi-Fi card in first, and I can just run the Bluetooth cable after. So it's supposed to sit in that, but like that, but for some reason it's not, and I know why, because I do not have all the board screws in. So that's a good idea, and I don't have the screws tightened down, so I have to have all the board screws in and all of them tightened down before I put the other boards in. So yes, I skipped a step because I didn't pay attention to myself. You don't want to over tighten them because you can flex the motherboard, even on this form factor. So I only got 2 screws left to put in. 3 screws. And the reason being is because there's going to be 2 left over. Because this board is slightly smaller. So I actually have some room to maybe cable management or something on the side. Or I can put the screws in. Problem with putting the screws in, these molded standoffs, chances of grounding out and potentially killing my motherboard while it's on. So I will put them in a little baggie, which I have from my Wi-Fi card. The baggie is what held the Bluetooth cable for shipping. And see, I can just run this cable like that. Now, my CPU fan, I may have to turn, but my case fan, but it doesn't look like I have to. Thank God. This board, this motherboard is actually making this case look neater. And so I have no clue if this is gonna ever work. And I cannot plug this in. So my media card reader will never work until I get a USB 3.0 to 2.0 adapter. Because there's 4 out of 5 pins are open. Now, if I wanted to, I could drill that hole out so it would fit the pin. But the problem with that is, it's a chance of actually ruining the other pins for the card reader. So that's going to end up staying up here. So I'm not going to be able to use the card reader. Oh wait, yes I am. Because I just figured out where to put it. I did not notice a missing pin. So if I can get the pins in. It may not be the right pin size. It does not look like it's the right pin size. It should be, but because the pins are all the same. It's just the dynamic of the pins. And it does not look like I can do it. Because it is a wrong pin size. Which does not make sense because I should be able to. Oh, I know why. On the other motherboard, this had a single header. Single pin hole header. I cannot use that. I have to get a adapter and plug it in. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to get an adapter for that. So it looks like, let me get the other board and see the pin type. The way it is. Yeah, the pins are different. They're bigger pins. See these 4 pin right there? They're USB, so it should work. So I don't know why I can't plug that in. The only thing I can think of is because the pins in the hole in this are similar to these, so you can't plug. See, like, if I can't plug. Although I may be able to. If I can plug it on this, I can plug it on the header for USB 3.0.